of our life. That love story that is our guiding principle, that we can live in the world as our humanity. How do we turn on that heart light? How do we turn it on so that we can let it shine and let it illuminate everything that we see? Let it be part of who we are in our human walk in the world. What I know is that love is important to all of us, isn't it? It's very important to me. I know it's important to you. But if you look at the things going on in some of our families, in our relationships, certainly in the world, it sort of looks like love is in crisis on the planet, doesn't it? Yeah, looks like there's some trouble. Love's in trouble, so to speak. And so, you know, in working with the material of our authors for this month, one of our authors says, either love isn't powerful enough to save us from our darker nature, or something has happened to turn us away from love. And so I choose to believe that love is powerful, that love is powerful enough to bring a shift and to make the world a beautiful place. I think what has happened is that in general we've turned away from letting our heart light shine. As individuals, as cultures, as tribes, as nations, as family members, we've turned away from the concept that love is such a powerful force that it can change the way things show up on the planet. And so today, our top topic is reviving the love story. How do we revive the love story in our own lives? Because it starts there, doesn't it? And then allow that to become an energy on the planet. We can only do what we can do. I do what is mine to do. I take the next indicated step in my journey. You do your part. And everybody else does their part. And pretty soon, if we're reviving this love story, all over the place, things shift. Part of it is that we've got to relearn our loveliness. I like that idea from Sharon Salzberg. Relearn our loveliness. Because sometimes we don't feel lovable. We don't feel like we are that center of love. Does anybody relate to that? Sometimes there's so much going on that we forget that we are that we're that love that can bring forth these changes and this blessing in the world. It starts with me. I gotta know who I am. That I am a radiant, beautiful, divine spark that has work to do in the world. I am the allness of God expressing. My job is to be the activity of the divine through all the thoughts that I hold in my mind, all of the words that I speak, and all the actions that I bring forth. And I got to remember that, see? And when I can remember it, then I can move it out into my family, into my community, into my city, and hopefully onto the planet. Now, I can only do what I can do, right? But if I allow myself to remember the truth of who I am, so that I flower from within, I bless myself. I'm a blessing. You're a blessing. Each and every one of us is a blessing in our own way. And then allow that to bless the world. It shifts everything, you see. I love what one of our authors says. In some profound way, we are created for love to the very depth of our human soul. Do you believe that? We are created to be that love right down at the cellular level, to the very depth of our humanity. And when we go to the depth of our humanity, what do we find? We find that core essence of our divinity. Yes, that's who we really are. We are a mirror of the divine. Our beingness and divine beingness, you know what? It's all one. If we believe what we teach, that it's all one, and that each and every one of us is a spark of that divinity, guess what? And this is the stretch, and this is where we get to revive the love story. If I believe that about me, that I'm a spark of the divine, And I believe that you're a spark of the divine, and you're a spark of the divine, and you're a spark of the divine. So is everybody else. Hello, and I mean everybody. That's a stretch. Who watches the news? Who watches the news? Do we want to think everybody has that spark of divinity? That's a stretch. And that's where we get to expand our way of being and seeing the world. Those of you from a Christian tradition, the Holy Text says, God is love, and whoever abides in love abides in God, and God abides in him. There it is, folks, proof. We are all a spark of the divine energy that God is. And so because we all have that quality of the divine, nobody gets left out, by the way. Nobody gets more than anybody else. Now, can we be unskillful? You bet. Can we be forgetful? You bet. Can we show up harmful sometimes? Oh, yeah. Yes, we can. But we're all saints. We're all saints. We've all got the same amount of God stuff in us. We're never going to be any more spiritual than we are right this minute, folks. We just need to remember. We just need to remember. And so our divine assignment is really a call to love. Marianne Williamson's work, the call to love. It's the work of the Course in Miracles, William. It's the work of the Course in Miracles. It's to let our light shine and be the energy of love and light that changes. Now, we change our own experience of life, and see, when we change it for ourselves and we can live with passion wherever we are, guess what? We create that resonant field that then touches everybody else. And when we touch others, guess what? The change happens. The change starts to trickle out into the world, and pretty soon, at least in our little sphere, we might be able to create an island of cohesive love. And then let that get bigger, bigger, bigger. See, that's what it's all about. And this is a real important piece to remember, because when I say that we've all got the same amount of God stuff, that nobody gets left out, nobody gets more, and nobody gets less, well, guess what? This capacity for love, this capacity for our divine energy to bring forth this heart light, it doesn't get ruined just because we sometimes get angry. Our capacity does not get ruined because we're unskillful or because we're angry. It doesn't get ruined because of any of those things. We are this pure essence that needs to remember, and sometimes we're going to goof up. We need a do-over. There's no question about it, and that's our humanity. But at the core of who we are, our capacity to be this loving energy is never diminished. It just gets forgotten. It just gets covered over. We need to polish the dust of the world off of our hearts sometimes so that we can see more clearly. And part of it is that sometimes it seems so hard, and it seems like we're in such a tough spot that we feel real defeated. We just want to go to bed and pull the covers over our head. Anybody going through a breakup of a relationship? Anybody going through difficult family circumstances? Anybody totally paralyzed by what they're seeing, the harshness and the cruelty on the news? We want to give up. But when we have the capacity to really have an open heart so that we can revive this possibility of being this loving energy in the world, all of a sudden something happens. We can embrace all those parts of ourselves, those unskillful parts of ourselves that aren't quite so loving all the time. Anybody got that? I have a few of those areas in my life. We can embrace that in ourselves, and then guess what? We can start to open to the concept that we might be able to embrace that in other folks who are unskillful in the world. Include all of it without judging it, without being harsh with it. Sort of like, wow, look what humanity can do. Wow, look at the choices some of these human beings are making. Wow, look at these things that are going on around me. Wow, look how unskillful that son-in-law can be sometimes. It's that, you see. And when we can see that, and we can be present with that, and we can soften, and by the way, I'm working on this. I'm working on this one. When we can try to soften our eyes to see the truth of the experience and remember that that person has the same amount of divinity that I do. Really? I got to remind myself of that. That's my humanity, folks. I got to remind myself of that. I don't have to like everybody, but my call is to love everybody, because remember I told you last week, God doesn't love us. God is love. Well, if God's love, guess what? I'm a piece of that divinity, and so am I, and it's my job to bring that forth, even in those places where I don't like people too much. See? So this whole idea of reviving the love story, it requires us to completely shift our perceptions, to have the willingness to find hope, to find the love among the harshness, among the unskillfulness, among the tears, whatever that is. This is how we revive the love story, you see. Because a lot of us are very cynical, right? Anybody cynical? Anybody go through life and go, wow, and not be able to see past the solidity of the harshness or the unskillfulness? When we can bring forth our heart light, what is love, all of a sudden we put that cynicism over here, because you know what? Cynicism is a great enemy of our capacity to love and hope and open to the promise and the possibilities of our experiences. And so really, reviving the love story is all about asking ourselves a key question. One of our authors says, do I want to be here or not? Do I want to live with passion or not? Do I want to just get through the day? Do I just want to make it, from one moment to the other? Or do I want to let my light shine, love my life no matter how it shows up, express my divinity in the experience no matter what? Because you know what? The answer to that I give to that question, do I want to live with purpose and passion, or do I just want to give up? Is it not worth it? It's too hard. Too hard. How I answer that question is going to really color how I experience my life. If I don't see my life worth the effort to try to love, to try to be that heart light, to try to see the world without, with real soft eyes, without the judgment, if I'm not willing to do that, then it's going to determine my relationship with you, with myself, with what goes on in the world, you see. And I'll tell you what, I want full tilt living. I want to live at the height. I'm going to be 69 years old this year. And you know what? I'm still ready to live at the level of full tilt living. I want to be here. I want to make a difference in the world. I want to have my life count for something. I want, like Deepak Chopra says, when I'm gone, I want somebody to say, there's a little bit less heart light around here. I want to live with passion and purpose. I want to live full tilt living so that I can see everything as having value, even the icky stuff. And I got some icky stuff going on, just like you do. See? To let this love energy that I can be, to be the constant in my life, no matter what's happening, no matter how it shows up, you see. Because what I know about my life and I know about your life, is life a constant parade of one thing after another? Somebody would say one damn thing after another. Yes. Life is a parade of these things, pleasures, pains. It's always going to be something new. There's always going to be one more thing to embrace. And it's probably going to show up without my permission. It's always been that way, and it's always going to be that way. And so if I can actually set an intention to be constant with my love, constant with my remembrance of my divinity, constant with my remembrance of your divinity and everyone else's divinity, it's going to make life a lot nicer for me. So how do I do this? Well, I got to be present. I gotta take time. I gotta stop, look, and listen like we learned in kindergarten. I gotta practice. I gotta practice. I gotta practice. And every time an unkind, unloving thought, an unskillful thought arises, I get to say, oh, my old friend, unskillful idea about that person or that thing. Bless it and move on and recognize my humanity in that and practice again. Make a new choice. Be 100% present. Be really present with the isness of whatever is going on. One of our authors says, be fully present with the 1,000 horrors of the earth. Or whatever. I'm happy to be here. I want to accept my divine responsibility, my divine assignment, my soul contract, this time around in this particular people suit. I want to choose love. I don't want to be indifferent to life. I want to live with passion. I don't want to be cynical and fearful. I want to be loving and kind. I want my heart light to shine really bright. I want to love the life I'm living, and I do. I want to remember, like the author says, I have an enormous ability to love, and guess what? So do you. I love myself. I love you. I am love. God is love. So here's your invitation. Remember, no matter what's going on, no matter how life shows up for us, in some profound way, we are created for love to the very depths of our human soul. We got to remember our own loveliness and our capacity for that love expression in the world. I got to love myself. You need to love yourself. Love yourself. Love one another. Your love. Your love. God is love. And so your commission today is turn on your heart light and let that shine wherever you go. Thank you for listening.